put your hands together for the amazingly talented Radhika Apte, who was also nominated for her International Emmy recently. A round of applause, ladies and gentlemen, and Sonali, the stage is all yours.
Radhika Apte, the OTT queen. Do you like that tag?
Should I use this?
Yes.
Should I use this? I mean, it's a good tag, but it makes me wonder sometimes. I've done over 40 feature films, and I just appeared in like 2 television shows on Netflix, and then I got this title. I've done far more films than series in my life. So, but still, I mean, I'm not a big fan of labels. But when they support you, they help you. I don't mind the plus side of it, you know.
Unfortunately, we live in a world of labels.
Yeah.
And, you know, in fact, there was a big hullabaloo around the fact that Netflix was in love with you and was only casting you. So you almost became the Netflix girl, right? So do you sometimes feel boxed?
That's not how it happened, actually. Because Sacred Games was the show that I was cast in, but Lust Stories was not a Netflix movie initially, and neither was Ghoul.
Sure.
So it just coincidentally happened that it sort of came together, and Netflix decided to make me their whatever. Is because I got trolled, and they were intelligent enough to use it to their advantage and not you know criticize the trollers. So that's how it all started, I think, and I was not a part of it, so it was a surprise.
So, you know, I was speaking with Bhumi before you, and I asked her this question as well, because there seems to be a debate on whether this can actually happen. Can stars straddle both OTT and the big screen in a manner that is, you know, acceptable? Or do you think somewhere, you know, we're still slotting actors, unfortunately, into, you know, typecasting them as OTT actors, big screen actors? Do you think that's something that's happening and that bothers you?
I don't think that's happening, and if that's happening, who's to decide? I mean, it'll change the day people want to change. If somebody like Saif today decided to do Sacred Games, he's still doing feature films. It's just in your head. As actors, I think it's up to actors. I don't think it's about the audience at all. It's literally something that actors have to decide. It's actors are slotting themselves saying, oh, I'm not going to do OTT because I'm a film actor. Audience are happy if you give them good content either on OTT or feature films. And a lot of people watch a lot of films on OTT platforms. So I think it's this thing of image that we carry as actors, not we, some people carry as actors and say, oh, I have to do this, I can't do that. It's in their heads. Audience will accept as long as you convince them with a better performance. So.
Right. Radhika, today people internationally know you. How much of that can you actually feel is palpable when you travel abroad? How much of our content is really traveling? We know that we're watching a lot more international content than we ever did, just because of the sheer accessibility and exposure.
Yeah.
How much, since you're in the field, you're doing so many international shows, you're traveling so much, how much of our content is traveling?
I mean, the thing is, Emmys, everybody was so happy we got nominated. It's such a big thing, I think. We had 3 nominations this year. But they also started the International Emmys only 3 years ago. And the reason why they've started International Emmys clearly is because of the OTT platforms. Television has changed. And everybody from all over the world is investing in these platforms and making really good content. So they need to acknowledge that, and then there needs to be a platform, I mean, a place where it can all come together and be rewarded. So I'm hoping that we will have many more nominations from now on, from next year and the year onwards. And because of this, I think suddenly the content's been viewed across the world. I mean, when I remember Lust Stories came out, because I was the first one to come out, I got calls from all over the world, literally the next day. I've never been in a feature film where so many people have seen it the next day. So it definitely has a completely different kind of visibility.
Would you say today that you know, our content is you know, at par with global content, or do you think we have some time to go?
I mean, a lot of global content is also shit.
Yeah, that's true.
And, I think some of our content is good. I just hope in order to get more numbers, we don't dumb it down further.
Yeah, that's true. That's a good point. Yeah.
You know, because I think I can see that's happening a little bit. So I think OTT is so new. It's what, second, third year? Let's wait and watch. It's too new to comment on suddenly being like, oh, now we are there, or we need to continue. We need to keep getting the opportunity to make work without compromise. So,
Given your exposure, with the OTT platform, what would you say? Would you say, progressively from, let's say, compared to 3 years ago to now, would you say there's been progression in terms of scripts, plots, casting, or do you think we are being pressurized by the number game because we want more and more subscribers, and so we're becoming massy and going the television route?
I mean, both are happening. Like in a way, the content has changed. In a way, a lot of different subjects are getting space to be, like stories are being told, and so much employment. My God, it's such a good sign. Like everybody is working at the moment. No one's free. So these are all good things, and some really great content's being written. Writers are being recognized. They're getting their dues. But we're also trying to make lots of content. Like it's like literally be feeling lost. The feeling of feeling. I mean, you're lost. There's so much content you don't know what to watch. So I think it's both. But in terms of just pure content, are we as a country making better content? I don't know, because what gets popular these days, we are making films on social issues. So there's always a new thing that people talk about, and it's a good thing. We're talking about these things. It's a good thing, but it's funny sometimes because most of the film is entertaining because it's making jokes about the exact same issue. So you're laughing at the same jokes. And then you go like, oh no, but we shouldn't be laughing, but we laughed for the last 2 hours. So, I mean, it's a tricky one. It can go on, we can have a long discussion on this.
Why don't you give us an example?
No, I can't.
Come on.
So many, yeah, I mean.
This is really the turn of the decade, right? And if you look at cinema, whether it be OTT, big screen, blah, 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 would you say that the industry per se is now suffering, as you mentioned, of a supply glut? And because of that, this whole discovery mechanism needs to be figured out, because a lot of good content, because just of the number of shows and films that are hitting us, and the fact that we don't have that much time to really sit and sift, unlike the olden days where you just had a few films and you had to watch it. Would you say that a lot of good content is getting lost, and hence it is really the discovery that has to be tackled as one of the biggest hurdles?
I don't know. I'm not on the other side of the business, so I don't exactly know this as much as I'd like to. But I think as I said, it's so new. I think we need to give it some time and see what happens and what stays. There is some good content doesn't get hidden necessarily. It comes out. Like, there's so many films recently that have opened quite mediocre, quite average, but it's the word of mouth that suddenly made them 100, 200 crore films. I mean, so even few people watch something good, the word spreads really fast. So I think it's not hiding. We can see this thing, but it's just a lot of content. And I think it needs to settle. We need to give it another couple of years or more to see where we are headed. But there's definitely a positive side to it, like definitely.
Are you clear about what you want to do and what you don't want to do when you are selecting your scripts?
I mean, this year, I was so busy for the last 3 years. I got really...
we know you're overworked.
Yeah, I was very overworked. So I took a 4-month break. So now I'm back. And I think right now the only category when I'm deciding what to do, I ask myself, when I have to wake up at 5 a.m., will I think to myself that, yeah, I'm going on set? Or will I be like, oh my God, I wish I was not going on set? And then I take the project or not. It's very simple.
Okay. And did you always want to be an actor?
Yeah, I did want to be an actor always, yeah.
Always. And you had no problem getting into the business at all?
No problem at all. It was smooth ride. No, of course I had lots of problems. I mean, it's difficult. This business is difficult. I had no godfather, I had no family or whatever. I didn't know how it works. There were no casting directors as such at that time. So you come and you figure out some way of keeping at it. And even now, I mean, there are not less hurdles. They're constantly. It's one profession where not everything is based on talent or hard work necessarily. Lots of other things are at play. You have to really, like, it's a business, we forget, but it is a business at the end of the day. So, and also actors' job is extremely dependent. You know, they have barely any control because you choose from what you get, you don't really create. You know, you're told what to do most of the time. So it's a very difficult job, I think.
You know, if we're at the turn of the decade, and as somebody who's in the industry and has observed the industry because you always had aspirations to be an actor, what would you say would be the top 3 things you loved about the decade and the top 3 things that you absolutely hated?
I don't know if I can actually tell you that because I don't know, because I mean, people talk about how women have a lot of work these days and we have women-centric parts, but I remember growing up, at that time also a lot of women had a lot of parts in films. I mean, the industry is quite dominated by men anyway. But I think what has changed, yes, one thing has changed, that lots of women as technicians, behind camera, directors, writers, producers, editors, cinematographers, I mean, just name it. The crew has a lot of women, and that's a very good sign. I think the second good thing is there's a lot of investment from outside. So it's not just within the industries or families. So a lot of people are coming from outside, which means that a lot of different stories are told. So that's another great thing, I think. And I think third thing is the world has really changed. And no, it's come closer. So we get to view content that has been made all over the world, and language has become redundant in a way. And you know, we are just looking at pure work, and so the aspirations have changed. There's a push, there's a encouragement, I think. So I think these are the 3 things.
Yeah, I mean, very, very insightful, you know, points. But what about the 3 things that you couldn't stand?
Oh yeah, you asked that also.
Yeah.
I think there's no pay parity at all. There still isn't. And we don't talk about pay parity as in, oh, is this A-lister actress, should she get a few more crores than the A-lister actor? But it's not just that. I mean, if an A-lister actor is getting you that 3 crore, short 3 crore of whatever money, then he should be getting paid more money, I think. I mean, I'm just talking in broad strokes right now because we don't have the time. But I feel, apart from the A-listers, the rest of the cast, the rest of the crew is also made up of men, women, or like you know, different genders basically, and we don't have parity there. And there is no excuse to not have parity there. They don't affect your box office at all. You know, like suppose somebody plays somebody's father and mother, but still the father gets paid more money than the mother, and there's absolutely no logic to that. So, so pay parity for sure, I think. Me Too movement came and went. Disappointing, right? It is disappointing. And a lot of things that should have changed have not changed.
Absolutely.
So a lot of things have not come out. A lot of things have not changed. So that's really disappointing, I think. And what else is disappointing? I don't know.
That's
exactly.
Fine. That's fine.
Yeah.
You've been candid enough,
Yeah.
and I appreciate your honesty. But on that note, Radhika, we're all big fans of you. The entire audience here was waiting for your session. Thank you so much for taking time out and talking to us.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me.